So we have, let's see, we have the first poll up is, when was the last time you updated your resume? And the answers are coming in. Oh no, oh no. So it's like a little horse race going here. So the categories are earlier this year, 1 to 2 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, and 5+ years ago. So the first thing that I always say before even talking about resumes is you should always, always, always have an updated resume. That resume should always be ready to go. And I'm going to, just kind of poke fun at one of our partners. You can see all of our partners. They're all awesome. You have Dick and Tom and Kurt up on this on the screen there. And if any of them ever approached you at a conference and said, hey, I think I have a really great opportunity for you, and I'd love to talk to you about it. Could you send me your resume? The last thing that you want to say is, oh, can I get that to you in a few weeks? Because I have to put it together. Okay, because when opportunity is knocking, you want to be able to answer. Hannah, it looks like we have the answer to the poll here. So the majority of people, it looks like, majority of people here, 50% of our audience said that they have, the last time they updated their resume was 1 to 2 years ago, which means it's not really current. The next group, it was 38% have not updated their resume in more than 5 years, and everyone else, it looks like, small population earlier this year. Okay, so that's something that we should be talking about, because that means that the resumes are not ready to go. Always want to have that resume ready, and that's one of the things that we will be talking about. So how to create a resume that wows a search committee is our topic for today. And this is our awesome team. And again, any one of these people may approach you at any point and say, hey, I've got an awesome opportunity to discuss with you, and you want to be ready to respond appropriately and have that resume ready to go. So let me tell you just a little bit more about myself. My name, again, is Michelle Ricklin, and I may have met some of you, and if not, I hope to meet the rest of you at some point. And my career started in high school as Wendy. I was Wendy at Wendy's. I was the one that waved on the corner and worked the drive-through in my little Wendy's outfit. That was my introduction to the hospitality world. And then I went to college and got a degree and started my career in human resources. And then when I started my family and was looking for a little bit more of work-life balance, I started a career consulting firm and went out on my own and started Ricklin Resources, resume and career services consulting firm. And along the way, I picked up some large clients, and one of them, well, I started working with the Association of Executive Search Consultants, and another client was Club Management Association of America. And at the time, that was I'd say about 15% of my business, working with their career services center and attending conferences every year and writing resumes and LinkedIn profiles and doing some consultation work with mostly at the time general managers, GMs, COOs, and CMA's professional resume writer for a little over 8 years. So I got to know a lot of GMs, a lot of COOs, really, really loved the industry, got to know it pretty well and really wanted to do more. And that led me to Kopplin, Kuebler, and Wallace, who I had the pleasure of meeting every single year at conference and having conversations, and realized that we have a lot of good synergy, and I had a background in search and a background in training and development and education and recruitment and all sorts of fun stuff. And we decided to join forces, and we are an awesome team. So I am really lucky and fortunate to be a part of it, and excited to bring this information to you as part of their team. So let's talk about what the resume is. So a lot of people have that conception that the resume is what gets you the job, and the resume is not what gets you the job. The resume is what gets your foot in the door, because you really cannot get into that interview without having the right materials to do so. So before you even begin a search, you have to have the right materials. And, so I say, well, what are your personal marketing materials? What are your personal career marketing materials? A resume is just one piece of that package. And in order to get your foot in the door, you have to have all of those pieces put together. So resume gets your foot in the door. It does not get you the job. Today we're going to cover, how to ensure that your resume markets you effectively and stands out. What are the do's, what are the don'ts, and what are some of the extras? How do you create a hook that really compels the reader to keep reading, because you've got a really short window to grab their attention? And what are the secrets of the search committee? What do they look for, and why they might reject the resume from the start? And I can tell you that, I've written, I can't even tell you how many, probably tens of thousands of resumes throughout my career. I've been doing this for a very, very long time. But what is really awesome now, having worked with KK&W, is not only do I have the perspective from having learned from so many GMs and COOs and industry professionals, from golf, directors of golf, and from executive chefs, and that's really how I have learned this industry, is from all of you, and speaking with all of you and learning what you do. But now I have the advantage from having worked with this team and working with search committees and learning what they want. It's really added a whole nother dimension to being able to write the resumes and create really, it's really up my game, because now I know what are the search committees looking for very specifically, because they tell us, here's what we want to see. And sitting in that room and watching them go through those resumes and talk about those resumes and talk about those candidates really gives me a unique perspective. So now I really truly have that 360-degree perspective from the candidates, from the GMs, from the search committees, and have learned a tremendous amount about what everyone is looking for in the right candidate, and what needs to be on that resume in order to resonate with everybody in the room. So I'm happy to share that information and that knowledge with you. All right, so what are those personal career marketing materials that I'm talking about? What tools do you need? So there are lots of different tools, and they're for different purposes. So some of them, a bio, a resume, a LinkedIn profile summary. Those are some of the tools that you need when you're personally marketing yourself. And let's talk about what they are. Let's compare them. So what is the bio? Bio is professional bio. It introduces who you are, what you do, what you offer. It's written in the third person, and it's like someone else is introducing you, like Hannah did in the beginning. She introduced me, and she was giving my bio. And when do you use it? Well, we use it when someone is speaking, like I'm doing now. It could be that you're introducing somebody in a webinar setting. It could be a live setting. It could be for an article. Someone wrote an article, so you're showing their bio. It could be for publicity or networking, or a book on somebody's website. So a club's website, you'll take a look and you may see bios of different staff members, or for media. Consulting purposes, if someone is going in and doing a consulting assignment, they may want to see a bio of a person. That's generally a one-page. or a couple of paragraphs. Boards, if you're on a board, they may want to see a bio of who you are. That's a bio, and that's one of the tools. So what would be another tool? A resume. So personal career marketing tool. It's something that a job seeker will use to communicate their value to an employer. So it's different than a bio. It's well written, it brands you, it markets you, it sells you toward your target. It introduces you in what's called the implied first person. So here's an example, just to read it out loud so you can hear it and not just see it. Flexible leader with talent for quickly assessing situations, determining root causes, devising sound solutions, gaining buy-in from all stakeholders, and implementing positive change. So that's the implied first person. There are no pronouns. It's concise, and it's you speaking on the page, but not using any pronouns. Implied first person. When do we use that resume? We use it for jobs. We use it to send to an employer. We use it to promote ourselves. It's for interviews, or it may even be for educational purposes or an internship. And then the last tool that we'll mention would be a LinkedIn profile summary. So LinkedIn profile summaries are different. They are not a cut and paste of the resume. They're written in the first person, not the third person. So it's not like a bio. It's intended to be a narrative. It's conversational. It's almost like an invitation to engage in a dialogue. So you do use the pronouns. It's I or my. Here's an example. Again, hear it out loud. As a hospitality executive with a non-wavering expect success philosophy, I have a can-do business acumen and am 100% committed to guaranteeing best-in-class standards throughout operations with exemplary focus on member service. You want that person who is reading it to get to know you, to understand you, to know a little bit about your philosophy, how you feel about the industry, how you feel about what you do. And it's like you're inviting them to know more about you and ideally to engage in some kind of a dialogue. So it's different than the resume, but you do want the messaging to be consistent with your other marketing materials. So it should be consistent with the message of the resume, but not the same, not a cut and paste. We use it for networking. We use it for connecting. We use it for visibility. We use it for branding, for sharing, and for just kind of getting ourselves out there. Okay, today we're really focusing in on the resume. That's our main concentration. We'll touch on some of the others just slightly, but today's concentration is the resume. So how to ensure that your resume markets you effectively rather and stands out. So I call our resumes our VIP resumes. We want to make sure that it has all of the VIP components. So VIP, it should have value, it should have ingredients, and it should have packaging. A powerful resume is going to personally brand and target you. It's going to have compelling and strategic content, and then it should be visually appealing. We always want to be in a marketing mindset when we're talking about our resume. You are basically a product, and the person who is reading it is a potential consumer. So if your resume looks vanilla, if it looks just like all the other hundreds of resumes that may come across somebody's desk or across their screen, then what makes it stand out? Why should somebody look at it? If it's not that interesting, it could get lost. So we do want it to be visually appealing. That's the design. The design and the packaging is important. I found, over the years going to conferences, one of the things that has been a really hard pill to swallow especially when I deal with students. They've come to me, and I'll get, let's say, 10 students in a row from the same university, and every single resume looks the same because they've been to the exact same advisor who's given them the exact same advice, and every single resume looks exactly the same. So I say to all of them, I said, I'm sorry, you're not going to like what I'm going to say, but I have 10 resumes here that look exactly the same. So what does it matter which one I pick? If I'm looking, if I'm looking to fill an internship, you all have pretty much the same experience. And, so I can just go eeny, meeny, miny, moe and pick one. How are you differentiating yourself? So if the packaging had been different, well, one might have caught my eye over another. So it is really important not to, just kind of discard the importance of making a resume stand out by some interesting design or just, not making it look like a template. And we're going to go a little bit deeper into that. All right. So making sure that your resume stands out effectively. We also want to make sure that it is not something that gets lost just because it's just too much. It's not an autobiography. We want to be cognizant of the fact that the person who is reading it has limited time, limited focus, and that's something that we will address. A lot of people did ask how long should it be, and we'll get to that as well. Okay. Packaging. Very, very important, as I mentioned. Every single resume should be different. You shouldn't be copying off of someone else. We want to try really hard to make your resume unique. So how do we do that? Well, let's see. When you take a look, just again, from a consumer/product standpoint, tomato soup is tomato soup. Or is it? How do we make it different? How do we differentiate ourselves? So let's imagine that you're a child, rather that you have a child with you and you're in the supermarket. Okay. And you take that child down the cereal aisle. Actually, let's go back. We're going to go back past the soups. Let's look at the cereal boxes. And you say to that child in the supermarket, pick a cereal. What are they going to pick? Okay, well, they may pick the one that has, the fun character, or they may pick the one that's the most colorful. Or they may, cry because one looks scary, and okay, well, we don't take that one off the shelf. But okay, they pick something that's colorful and has a fun character, and we take it off the shelf. Okay, so that's step one. We need to get the resume off the shelf, so to speak. We need to get it out of that pile. That's step one. Once we get it out of the pile or off the shelf, so we've still got the kids sitting in the little shopping cart. We got the cereal box off the shelf. We got the resume out of the pile. Now we're going to take a look at what's inside, right? So now we move on to the ingredients. And the ingredients over here, we're looking at the cereal box. So this one has, it's got niacin and carbonate and cornstarch and distilled monoglycerates and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Not really what I'm looking for. We put it back on the shelf. So same thing with the resume. It can be the most beautifully designed resume, but if the content is weak, if it doesn't say anything that's substantial, it doesn't matter how good it looks. It's going in the no pile, right? So it really has to have really good, strong content. So let's take a look at the one on the right. It has soy grits and kashi and cornmeal and things that, sound like it's good. Oh, that's more of what I'm looking for. Okay, great. So I'm going to keep this one. And now I'm going to dive a little bit deeper, and I'm going to see, well, what's the value? Here's the value. Oh, look at the cereal. It's, American Heart Association, it's certified and it's good for my heart. And, you know, this one says it's got grain oats and, you know, it's heart healthy and it lowers cholesterol, et cetera, et cetera. And same thing. So we're looking at the resume, it's got really good content. And now I'm looking a little bit deeper and, you know, oh, this person was, you know, this person can do capital projects and this person has really strong F&B background. And, you know, so this has the kind of value that I'm looking for. Okay, great. So now I'm going to hold on to this resume and it's worth my giving, you know, more of my attention to. So now I've got something to work with. And I'm going to keep this one in the cart. So that's how we ensure that the resume sticks, so to speak. Now we need to know that it has all of the right components. Okay, so now we can move away from the, you know, the shopping product analogy. So what does the resume need to have? Well, it needs to have some of the basics. It needs to have contact information. And you may laugh, but I cannot tell you how many times I have gotten resumes that don't have emails, that don't have phone numbers, that don't have any contact information. And I've had spent over 8 years sitting at CMA conference and, you know, every 15 to 20 minutes meeting with somebody and critiquing resumes and sitting down and saying, okay, I'm looking at your resume. How am I going to reach you if I want to speak with you? And the person on the other side, you know, sitting across from me saying, huh? And I said, well, there's no phone number, and there's no email. How am I going to reach you? Contact information, really important. And that's happened many, many times, believe it or not. So, you know, I'm not being facetious by saying contact information, but we'll talk about that. And there's definitely a way to put that on there and ways to even enhance the ability for somebody to reach you. You want a header, excuse me, you want a header. So something that defines who you are and make it easy for the person who's going through those resumes to see who you are and how you potentially fit into the organization. And also keeping in mind that there may be multiple searches going on within that organization. So make it easy for them to sort the resumes so that they know where you belong. Profile or a value proposition statement. And we'll go deep into that. Core skills, the experience section, how the resume is formatted, and then the education and professional development areas. Those are your key components. So contact information. So here are just some examples of what they could look like. Whoops, sorry. Contact information. You want to have your name. You can put your credentials next to it. You can have your address. You don't necessarily have to have your address. It depends. Your phone number, your email. I like to hyperlink the email so that somebody can just click on it and email you right then and there. And the LinkedIn, LinkedIn, you can hyperlink the LinkedIn. You can also edit the LinkedIn so that it says, you know, like LinkedIn and then the name. I always tell everybody to personalize your LinkedIn URL. That's something that I can send you information if you don't know how to do that. That's a different webinar, but LinkedIn and all the little bells and whistles and things that you can do with LinkedIn. But you do want to have either a personalized LinkedIn URL on your resume or edit your LinkedIn URL so that it's personalized to something like this, like LinkedIn and then your name. Okay. And again, several different ways that you can set it up. But you want it to be clear and easy to read, and you do want your contact information on each page of your resume. Especially, you know, pages get separated, they need to have your contact information. And then the next piece is a header. So a header defines who you are. Country club management, and then you could put a subheader underneath, or you can say exactly who you are. general manager, chief operating officer, and then put some of your key attributes right under there. Question always comes up: do I put as a header who I am now, or do I put where I aspire to be? Sometimes where you are now is also where you're going. So let's say you're a general manager and you are also applying for another general manager position. So then that's kind of an easy guess. You can put general manager / chief operating officer, and it's a no-brainer. But what if you're an AGM and you are targeting a GM position? Well, then maybe you would put target position general manager. And what if you're a clubhouse manager and you're targeting an AGM position? Well, then maybe you would do like I did over here, target position assistant general manager, private city clubs, like if that's what you were targeting specifically. That's one way that you could address that. Maybe your focus is either private clubs or hotels and resorts. So you could say that you could be a little bit broader. You could say that you're a hospitality executive and you're looking for private country clubs or hotels and resorts. So put a subheader. Or maybe you very specifically want to be a general manager at either or. So maybe instead of hospitality executive, you'd put general manager and then put a subheader so that you're leaving yourself open to either opportunity. But a header is really helpful for the person who is going through the resumes so that they know very specifically who you are, how you fit in, and where they should kind of sort you. And it really saves them time. And again, you really want to be cognizant of who is the other person on the other side and how can you spoon feed them that information so that you're saving them time. Okay, profile, value proposition statement. Generally, a lot of people in that profile section put a lot of generic information that is just not necessary, or is just, when I read a profile and it starts out like a lot of times it does start with that first, with the pronouns, which aren't necessary and aren't, resume speak, so to speak. But looking for an opportunity where I can show off my leadership skills and make an impact at the club where blah, 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 like wah, 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 all generic, doesn't mean anything. It's like the Peanuts cartoon. All I hear is wah, 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 wah. So don't waste the reader's time with filler, generic language that doesn't mean anything. Here's what you want there. It is like an elevator pitch, value proposition statement. So since Tom is in the middle of our picture over here, we'll just use him as the guinea pig. So if you're at a conference and Tom comes up to you and he says, hey, I've got this great opportunity. I think you'd be perfect for it, but I've already got 5 resumes that are on my desk. So tell me right here and right now, why you? And I'll just throw those away. What is it you're going to say? Think about that. Turn it into a statement that doesn't, and then put it in the implied first person, and that's what belongs up there. It's why you. What makes you unique? How do you stand out? Why do they need you? What kind of a statement can you put right up front that is going to compel that reader to keep reading? Because you've got such a short window to grab their attention. What is that hook? What can you say where they get excited about reading the rest of the resume and say, I need to pick up the phone and call this person and talk to them about this job? And it's a really tough exercise. That is the toughest part about writing the resume, is kicking it off. What can you say about yourself right then and there that is going to intrigue that reader to keep reading? The next section is the core skills. Okay, so this is kind of like, I like to think of it as a little cheat sheet. So the person who is looking at it, looking at the resume, is also looking at the job description, and they want to know that you've got some of the basic things that they're looking for. They can glance quickly at the resume and glance at the job description and kind of like check it off in their head. Okay, he or she has this, strong food and beverage, strong, strong clubhouse leadership, strong this, strong that. They have what I'm looking for. And this section, I like to create it so that it can be manipulated, because different clubs may have different things that they're looking for. I'm not a fan, and I know that this is one of the questions that some people asked about, do you have multiple resumes? I like to make my resumes so that they are easy to manipulate. I'm not a fan of having multiple resumes. I do believe that the resumes should be easy to manipulate slightly so that you can adjust them depending on where you're sending it. So if you know that you're sending your resume to a club and their main focus is that you have experience in tournament planning, well, then maybe tournament planning would float to the top of this list so that it's front and center. Or if you know that their main focus is F&B operations, well, then that should be in the front. It should be front and center and not in the back. So I like to create the section so that you can just manipulate it that way. But this is just a really nice section that helps to showcase what your key areas. We can call it several different things. You can call it core. You can call it core skills, core competencies, key areas of expertise, key skills. Several different things that you can call it. Okay, there are several ways that you can set it up. So sometimes I set it up like this as a block. It might be off to the side, or sometimes it's like this, areas of expertise. But lots of different ways it can be formatted. Make it a little bigger there for you. Okay, then your experience. Okay, so here are some of my personal rules on experience. These are the things that I like to see, and I put the club, make sure to describe it, because they want to know where you're coming from. What kind of an environment have you worked in? Then I describe the job, because describing the job and describing what you've accomplished in your job are two different things, because that's number 3. You want to shout out what you achieved, and you do want to tell the full story in a very concise manner. So those are that's my little snapshot of what I want to see in an experience section. Now, in the experience section, there's a way to do that. So this is the formula that I use. Challenge, action, result, the CAR formula. You don't want to tell me, you want to sell it to me. So here's what I'll often see. Somebody will put on a resume, a bullet, and it'll say increased membership and equity value, period. And I'm thinking to myself, and so there's a difference between saying that and saying bolstered membership roster from 312 to 420 with wait lists to belong through innovative community outreach and assertive marketing campaigns. Which one is more interesting to read? So the second one has some metrics, and it tells me how it was done. And we might even be able to go further and talk even more about it. And then we'd have to wordsmith it and continue to make it concise. But the challenge, action, result. What were you challenged to do? How did you do it? What did you do and how did you do it? And then what was the positive end result? What was the impact that you had? And where are the metrics to support what you're saying? And the first thing that goes through people's heads when I say that is, yeah, but then it's going to be really, really long. And then, my job then at that point is then we take it and then we make it very concise and find a way to communicate it very efficiently. Okay, formatting. Tons of different ways to format a resume. And like I said, it does become a challenge, but we do want to try and make every resume unique. And there are lots of different ways to do that. And you do need to know where you're sending your resume to. You have to know a little bit about the culture of the club that you're sending it to. So some clubs are going to be much more conservative, and some clubs are going to be not as conservative. And you do want to understand the culture of the club before you're sending your resume, because that determines, how creative you can be when you're doing it. Some you may be able to put a little more color. Some you may be able to put some graphs to demonstrate, revenue growth or cost savings or things along those lines. Some you can use some more embellishments, or some you'll keep it a little bit more plain, but you do want to make sure that it pops to some degree, and that you can even just accomplish by using different font sizes or italics versus versus straight font. But there are tons of different ways that you can format a resume. Education, professional development. I usually put those sections together. You want to talk about what degrees and certifications you have, training and associations that you belong to. Okay. Do's, don'ts, extras. Make things easy on your reader. Really, really important. Again, contact info on all pages, hyperlink the email and the LinkedIn. Put only one phone number on the resume. Whatever phone number it is that you use, that's your main number, that is your number. Not good to have a family number, somebody else's voice on the voicemail. Just your number, one phone number. Don't make it confusing. Make it easy for somebody to reach you. Complete all the mentioned components. Don't leave anything out. Make sure that it's easy to navigate, so the format's easy to follow and the person isn't jumping around trying to find information on the resume. URLs for current and previous employer websites. I like to do that as well. So they may want to look up where you've worked. So put a hyperlink on there and direct them right to the club, or to a previous employer if you can. And then make sure to proofread. And that's really important as well. Definitely, I have seen candidates get tossed to the side because of errors in grammar, errors in proofing. Just yesterday, I had a general manager commenting about just a candidate's resume, how they spelled one word differently in the same sentence, differently in the same sentence. So obviously a typo, but lack of attention to detail. Okay, do's, don'ts, extras. Don't waste your reader's time. So again, keep in mind who's reading it. So search committee, they're volunteers. They're volunteering their time. Many of them are very busy business people. And we want to make sure that they're using their time well, and that these resumes are easy for them to read through, as well as the general managers that are reading through it. They're going to appreciate right from the start that you're a potential employee who is being mindful of their time. Don't pour on the fluff. Again, everybody is who says, well, I'm a team player and I'm a this and I'm a that, all that generic stuff that people stuff their resume with. We get it. You don't need to pour it on. Definitely don't lie. You will be caught. And it's so much easier to tell the truth. You don't have to remember what you said. Don't develop a novel. We want to keep this nice and concise. Again, being aware of other people's time and being respectful of it. And again, creating a document that you can manipulate is the better option. That way you don't have to recreate an entire resume every time that you need to send something out. So make it, simple that you can change some of the small stuff. Some of the extras, like adding a little bit of color and using some enhancements like the like graphs and or like snapshot boxes or things like that may enhance and strengthen the message, but you don't want to throw things on there just for the sake of throwing things on there, because that may be distracting. Okay, creating a hook that compels the reader to keep reading. You really need to know yourself well in order to do that. And one of the exercises that I recommend people go through when they're trying to create that hook or that value proposition statement is the SWOT matrix. Go through and talk about with yourself, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, and what are your opportunities, and what are your threats. And this SWOT analysis is something that is very helpful. I always recommend doing this a couple of times a year and taking a look at what your answers are. It'll help you to be a little bit more self-aware and able to craft that elevator pitch, value proposition statement, those tools that you need in order to create your resume and create other personal career marketing tools. Yeah, this is a sample of a SWOT analysis. And this is available, this PowerPoint is available. So, if you'd like a copy of this, we're happy to provide it. Okay. Now, what are you going to say in there? Just keep in mind, you want to say something that is going to engage, intrigue, and inspire. A hard exercise. Okay. Secrets of the search committee. What are some of the things that they really want to know? Well, they do want to know where you've been. What kind of a club were you at? How many members were there? What was the revenue like? Maybe what was the F&B? That's why the hyperlink to the club is really useful. What, again, was it? Maybe it was a platinum club or a distinguished club. Here are some of the stats. So I like to just kind of throw that up there. This is another way that I present that kind of information so that they can get an overview of where you've been and the type of operation that you've been involved in. Or like this. Tell them how many people reported to you. How many people did you manage? How many people were on your staff? And this is another way that we can present that information. So there's lots of different ways to present it. Another thing that they like to know is, how did you make the moves that you made? Were you brought on board? Were you promoted? Maybe a member recommended you. Maybe you were involved in a nationwide search and you were selected amongst, several different candidates. How did you make the moves that you made, and why did you make them? You were recruited from another club by that general manager. This is all good information for a search committee to know. You were promoted. That's good for them to know. They want to know some of the things that you've achieved, and that's why that achievement section in the experience is really important. So let's shout that out and highlight it. Some other shout outs, anything that talks about community relations and activity, how you were involved in the community, how you've developed people, That's something else that that definitely comes up a lot is, talk about people that you've developed and where they are now. Are you a mentor? Maybe some media mentions. Thought leadership. Are you a thought partner? How do you work? How do you work with boards? Are you, somebody that contributes? Are you an advisor? Things along those lines. These are all things that are good shout outs that you can include in your resume that seem to resonate well with search committees. And why might a resume get rejected? Well, definitely if there are errors, if there are omissions, if there are gaps that can't be explained, if there's no attention to detail, if there's misinformation, all of these are things that certainly will have a resume be rejected. And that's definitely some of the issues that we will see. And if there are unexplainable moves, or sometimes it's just a matter of not something that we can explain, or it's something that just each search is different. So one club may be looking for one thing and another club may be looking for another. So what one search committee may reject, another search committee may not. It's just a matter of what is the right fit for a particular club. And every resume, it may be a great resume, but it may just not have the ingredients, quote unquote, that a specific club is looking for. So while you're going through the search process, it's just a matter of looking for the right fit for you. Okay. And, we have a lot of different career resources available for you. We always welcome you to go to our website and the career resources page. We have, resume services, we have interview prep and, tons of different resources. And we do offer, our CMAA members do have already a negotiated rate on resume services, and we are also offering that rate to anybody who is on this webinar today. Okay. Thank you.